Alrighty, we're back, and it's that time of week where you get your favorite podcast. This is Location Weekly. It's episode number 528, and as you can see, Aubriana has returned from her new abode in New York City. How are you?
I'm good, settling in. Very vanilla right now. I haven't really decorated my office or anything yet, but I have a desk and I have a computer and I'm here, I'm back. And I survived. So everything's good, just trying to dig through and find things and it's like a new opportunity to get organized, that's like like the silver of moving is that it's a new opportunity to find homes for new places, find new places and new homes for things, and get rid of a lot to like purge more when you realize, okay, I don't really use this or need it further than you did when you packed it up. So it's good. How are things going with you?
Pretty good, yeah. It's been nice up here in Toronto. The weather's been warm and good, and the Blue Jays are finally back home, like actually at home, like in their home stadium for the first time this weekend. So that was nice, and with fans and everything. So things are looking up. It was an interesting trade deadline to watch all those trades going down last week. But we'll see. Now the push is on to see if we can make the playoffs. But I'm kind of watching that, and at the same time, it feels like the summer is like winding down already. It's August now, so I don't know. It's going quickly, so it's good.
I know it's sad. I feel like I haven't even had a summer, but you know, here we are.
Here we are.
We'll make the best of it is for the next few weeks.
Yeah, there you go. So, all right, we've got four stories for you that we want to cover off this week, and I'll just let Aubriana start it off.
All right. Well, I mean, I think people are starting to go places, as you mentioned. Things are starting to open up a little bit more, even up in Toronto. Um, yeah, so that's good, and people want to get places, and a new feature that could help you find places in the near future would be a Snap Map edition called My Places. So they're adding this new feature. It's kind of like a heat map, so you can see, where people are and where they're going, in terms of like a heat map. So you can see a lot of like red around Tokyo right now with the Olympics and things of that nature. But this is just being tested. I'm sure it'll be ready to be rolled out soon, but basically you'll be able to store away things like places you want to go try to eat or grab a drink, or places maybe that you visited that you really enjoyed. So there's kind of three new tabs, if you will, that this will be rolled out into. So you'll have places you visited, your favorites, and then popular, that you can kind of look and see like what's happening. So the visited tabs will will collect sort of all these places that you've checked into within Snapchat, or wherever you've tagged them in a snap. So that will be somewhere that you have visited. Favorites are the ones that you've had like the heart icon, and you can get that pop up of a description of like a restaurant or a hotel or landmark or some type of an attraction that you favorited. And then there's places also that you can mark to try. And I like this because I know I'm always looking at like new food venues or new, just like, cool environments to check out. Right now, there hasn't been a way really to differentiate between like a place that you've actually tried and loved versus like one that you want to try or one that was your favorite. So this is a kind of a way to filter that and help people, I think, more easily find things and do things together. So like more and more, as more people start to use these features, they'll have these curated recommendations based on your behavior, what you like, what your interests are, your past visits, strangers that are around you that have, had good reviews or liked places. So, you think about the fact that Snapchat already has 30 million businesses with location tags that are available. So all of that can roll into this very seamlessly and easily. And we also, I don't know if we talked about it on the show, but there's also another feature that was layered into the Snap Map, which was layers that, they announced that was coming soon, that was going to let let Snap users be able to like book concert tickets at nearby venues, look up reviews for restaurants. So in my mind, I feel like this is one, it's kind of compartmentalizing a lot of the features that you might use in a Yelp per se, right? Like reviews, finding places, as well as something that you might see for apps, right? Kind of all of those things together, which is really cool. And it's also keeping users in the app, which I think is really wonderful. Because that's like what makes money for Snap, is having those users kind of in that app. Definitely having that I don't know, that mind, those eyeballs there is like what's driving up their ad sales, and that's what generates those dollars. So I think this is a great new feature. And yeah, I mean, it's good. It's really totally everything we talk about on the show, the intersection of people, places, and media. So there you go.
Yeah, I think this is a great move for them. I think their usage is on the rise. I think they've always been one of the, like, as far as the social platforms are concerned, one of the leaders in sort of using location data and technology around that. And I think for me, like the reference point is I'm not a Snap user myself. I have to say, I'm older in the older groups, so I'm a little more Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, getting more comfortable with Instagram. But my kids use Snap every day. And I've seen them, sort of pulling up the map pieces and looking at those hot spots and things like that. And it's just how they interact, right? And I think, seeing those heat maps and seeing what's going on, I think is a great way for especially that generation to kind of, get them excited about trying out new places or visiting new places. And I love that they have this idea of, being able to store it, in your favorites and that kind of concept and things like that. So I think it's pretty cool. And I think it's something that doesn't really exist in sort of any of the other, social platforms. Obviously, you can do this kind of stuff in Google Maps or Apple Maps or things like that, but people aren't going to that in the same way. So I think the content play with your friends and connections and the sort of businesses and so on, I think is interesting. I think it'll be, if down the road they're able to kind of get businesses to, potentially sponsor or advertise or promote things on there layered on top of the map, that could be really interesting too. And obviously these guys have played around a lot with augmented reality, and maybe that's the mechanism, for the ad unit to play out, down the road as they continue to evolve this and roll this out. So I quite like it. I think it's a great play, and obviously, the layer piece you've talked about is, kind of hints at that commerce angle that they're going for with booking concert tickets and other things, and the rev share that comes with that. So I like it. All right, on to our second story. So, big industry acquisition within our community here. Sochi has acquired Brandify, and congrats first of all to Manish and the whole team over there. These companies have been part of the LBMA network for a long, long time, and Brandify is one of those companies. They've been around since like the late '90s, so. This is a company that was, one of the early forerunners in the, local search and local pages world, and has continued to do well, continued to acquire clients well along the way, and has really done a great job of that. And Sochi is a company that is a relatively new player in the market and the ecosystem, and raised a lot of capital, $80 million in their latest fundraising round, and they're obviously growing quickly, acquiring a lot of interesting brands, widening their portfolio of product offerings, and I think Brandify really adds a lot of pedigree to that. So it gives them in total more than 3 million locations under management, a lot of great brands that they work with that are part of that. They talk about Ace Hardware, Hertz, Dollar Tree, Sport Clips, many other brands 700 national and global enterprises that are kind of with, that they sort of manage those local pieces for. So I think this is just a great move for both companies. I think it strengthens together. It makes, we've seen more and more consolidation in this sector within the location ecosystem, and I think you're going to continue to see that. Uber all obviously raising a lot of money, moving heavy into the space as well. We talked about our friends at DevHub and their acquisition of Brickwork, a few weeks back, and so on. So I think there's a lot more to come here, but overall, I think this is a great move for both companies.
Yeah, so I mean, I've known Monica Ho, who's CMO at Sochi, who came from XAD, Ground Truth. Before that, she's been there for several years now, and I'm sure she had a big hand in, how these acquisitions are taking place and putting those things together as CMO at Sochi. So congratulations. I think it makes a lot of sense. It's good to see them working with, bringing in, I think, aspects of other platforms and kind of consolidating, but also just growing what their offering is. So good things happening there.
Yeah, well said. And congrats to Monica and Afif and the rest of the team over there. They're great crew. We've had obviously Monica speak at a number of LBMA events over the years too. So it's great to see people that that have been part of the industry for a long time really do well, and to see some of these companies continue to evolve and and grow into bigger things. So congrats. All right, tell us about our third story.
All right, so on to a story about location analytics. INRIX has launched a platform called IQ Location Analytics Service. This is a SaaS platform that they're offering now, and really it's aimed at helping businesses understand who their customers are, where they came from, where they're going, how they got there, where they're going next, all of that information. And think of this as something that would really, aim to help businesses like QSR restaurants and planning where to put their next restaurant, or hedge funds and making decisions. So it's really combining like mobility, demographic, behavioral, location-based data sets, all of this in this on-demand solution that you can have, information and feedback in, instead of in, maybe a week or 2 weeks for, sourcing some type of an analytics report or a custom request. You have it all in this platform. You can just get all of this information delivered within minutes. So really it's, just connecting the dots between like people, vehicles, roads, cities, businesses, all of these movements and behavior patterns that we have, and maybe for city planning as well, it's delivering that right away in this platform. So, I think this is not necessarily something that's new. There's a lot of companies that are doing this, that are pulling this type of data in real time, but, it's hard. It is hard work to crunch all of that data together because, it's interesting because there's like so much, and processing that in real time and figuring out how to do that, intuitively in a platform, I think is definitely a challenging thing. And, but I think it makes a lot of sense. A lot of businesses have the need for this type of data, whether that is for, city planning, or just kind of understanding what's happening, or is this a good location? Or if it's for, just, insights. For example, we saw a lot of these behavioral reports come out at the beginning of COVID about movement patterns, behaviors of people, but that was happening probably through a lot of data science analyses and more manual processing, where this is really empowering something to happen in more near real time. So I think this is a great offering. It's something that will be used. It's always being asked for and needed. So, there's definitely some other competitors that are in this space, but I think that, it's interesting to see that this is growing alongside of the other announcements that we make around kind of tracking the movement of, goods around warehouses, tracking the movement of vehicles. They kind of go hand in hand here. So lots of progress in that direction for the industry. Thoughts?
Yeah, I think from an INRIX point of view, I think this is a good, solid offering. Obviously, this is a company that's been in the industry for a long time, 15 plus years, well-respected brand within that ecosystem. So, I think it's a strong offering for them. To your point, I think that, there is a lot of providers that are doing location analytics now and around this. You have sort of the data side of things with guys like Unicast and Safegraph and Xmode and all those guys who are also doing analytics around this. And the COVID piece, I think, has really shone a light on the value of this data for many different industries. In terms of understanding, what those patterns look like, and where, from a site selection point of view, that you mentioned as well, where should I open that next restaurant or what have you, especially as we're coming out of COVID now and starting to look at sort of, what's happened, right? And I don't know about you, but here in Toronto, big city, we've seen a lot of movement, generally speaking, over the last year and a half of people leaving the city and relocating their families and their homes to the suburbs and even further out of the suburbs into smaller areas where they can have more space, to work from home and build, home offices and things like that, because they can't do that in the downtown core in a little condominium unit. And so, I think that has, when you think about that, and then you think about, okay, what does that mean in terms of businesses and restaurants and tourism and all sorts of other things, and the municipal, smart city applications that are going on, this type of data becomes extremely relevant, right? And obviously, even my own startup at Ground Level Insights, we're in this space as well, at a slightly different level. Kind of looking at it at a very sort of micro level, but I think there's a lot of room for this, and there's a lot of opportunity right now. So I think it's a good move. It's a good positioning for INRIX. So that's my thoughts. All right,
for sure.
On to our final story. So Shipt, which is, if you're not familiar with them, they're a sort of delivery service company. It's spelled SHIPT, Shipt. They've partnered with a company called Continental Properties, which is a real estate company. And this is an interesting partnership. Essentially, what they're doing is they're teaming up with Continental, that owns, different, residential properties, and they are giving the tenants of these properties free same-day delivery service through Shipt memberships. So essentially, Shipt memberships to residents at 60 of Continental properties across the whole country. This is in the U.S. So they currently have properties in apartments in Colorado, Texas, Florida, and Illinois. And the residents will get access to unlimited free delivery for the entire duration of their lease. So I love this. I think this is exactly the kind of partnerships that we need to see to really drive adoption and usage. I think if you're a new player in this type of industry that's coming in and trying to fight against the Uber Eats and the these types of companies of the world, this is how you grow business and market share, right? You go into a residential community and you offer a partnership like this, right? And I don't know, what the revenue model is. I don't know if Continental is paying anything, to subsidize this. But even if they're not, right, I think it's just, from a real estate marketing point of view, this is a great value add to attract tenants into your properties. To say, hey, it comes with this. I think this is a no-brainer, and I think I could see other things coming like this. Hey, sign up, take a year of rent here, and you get Netflix, for a year, and you get whatever for a year, and so on and so forth. And I think we're going to see more and more of this type of thing as they're, everybody starts to sort of fight for, that dollar now of rent or whatever it is. And the other thought that came to my mind, and this is because I have a kid that's going to university for the first time this fall, who she keeps reminding me, I think we're down to 32 days now until she leaves home. I get a daily countdown. So, this is also this kind of thing as she goes into, living on campus and residence and so on, having this type of membership, right, associated with that makes a ton of sense to me. Like if she could get delivery of stuff, to her, or food or, whatever it is, I think that's an incentive to choose, one property over another. So I really like this. I think it's an interesting partnership. I haven't seen this type of partnership before. I've seen it with hotel chains do it, but I haven't seen it in sort of residential real estate come together like this. So interesting. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I really like this. I think, well, first of all, your daughter going to college in a month. I mean, bring on the waterworks, right? Like,
I know,
how did
eh?
that happen so fast? But
Yep.
but I love this partnership. I think that it's super balanced in both ways, right? So as you mentioned, a lot of people are moving out of the apartment environment, trying to find like more space. So I think that having more incentives to be in an apartment is a great win. And as you mentioned, you know, having something to offer to new residents as kind of a perk is really nice. And like delivery is such a like you know, it is almost core to who we are as humans now. Like we need quick delivery of items all the time and that on demand convenience. And so I love that. And then from a ship perspective, obviously, like growing new customers, new customer acquisition, this is a great way to go about it. And so I think that it's like a really balanced partnership for sure. And I would expect that we would see more of this. I know that there's sometimes we see these larger partnerships, you know, for example, like when I set up my new Wi-Fi that hasn't been working so well today. You know, it was like, oh, you get a free year of Amazon Prime. And I'm like, oh, I wonder if I can just like offset my Amazon Prime cost for a year. That'd be great, right? That's like a nice benefit. It's a perk. And you see that sometimes with these larger companies, but maybe not always with like an apartment or a real estate, you know, something kind of
Right.
outside of like that digital commerce world. So I think this is great. And I like the strategy behind this. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, that's it. That's our show for this week. You've been listening to episode number 528 of Location Weekly. Great to have Aubriana back. You know, it was good to have Rob last week too. Maybe we can do all three of us. You know, in one of the upcoming weeks. That'd be fun. But yeah, thank you everybody for your time, and we'll be back next week with another show. In the meantime, reach out to us if you have story ideas. Give us some love on whatever platform you're consuming this and on social media, and we'll see you next week. Bye.